you know, either younger than us or, you know, passed and retired. So why not? You know, I want to challenge myself. The best always looking to fight the best and challenge themselves, you know, and why not, you know, challenge.
Terence Crawford can't beat him, right? This is a money grab for Terence Crawford. It's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his legacy.
But if you study Floyd closely like I have, you will notice that he never wastes any steps while he's in the ring.
Terence Crawford reportedly accepted Floyd Mayweather's fight offer during a live interview with Stephen A. Smith. Crawford explained that for him, boxing is about pushing limits and taking on any challenge, no matter the size. He stressed that the best should face the best and that he's ready to rise to the occasion once again. With steady confidence, Crawford made it clear that a matchup with Mayweather is another opportunity to prove himself and exceed expectations.
Businessman, because this is Terence the businessman talking, right? They got to pay the cheddar to make it better, right?
For sure, for sure. All money ain't good money, so you got to know that.
Okay, fair enough. I hate to use the word easy, but at times it did feel like you were, you know, having a really easy time out there. Were you expecting it to play out that way?
Listen, it's never easy, you know.
Stephen A. Smith, known for his bold takes in sports coverage, doesn't hold back when praising Terence Crawford. Highlighting Crawford's achievement of becoming a champion in 4 different weight classes, Smith isn't offering a casual compliment. He's recognizing a rare feat in modern boxing. In an era where fighters often avoid moving between divisions due to the risks, Crawford's ability to excel across 4 weights sets him apart. Smith emphasizes that this combination of versatility and dominance cements Crawford's status as one of the all-time great pound-for-pound fighters, showcasing not only his physical adaptability but also his technical skill, mental toughness, and relentless drive to take on increasingly challenging opponents.
Terence Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance. He had poise in the ring, he wasn't rattled. He backed up and moved when necessary and kept us different. He exchanged enough to gain respect when necessary. It was a brilliant, brilliant, masterful fight on Terence Crawford's part.
Roy Jones Jr., a boxing legend familiar with what it takes to dominate across divisions, has praised Terence Crawford's skill in the ring. He highlighted Crawford's fight with Canelo Alvarez, noting how Crawford drew inspiration from the techniques of Floyd Mayweather and Erislandy Lara, 2 fighters who had given Canelo trouble in different ways. According to Jones, Crawford's ability to study, analyze, and then implement these strategies effectively is what sets him apart. What stood out most was that Crawford didn't just copy these styles, he integrated them into his own rhythm, making them more powerful and adaptable in the moment. This flexibility distinguishes him from many fighters who rely on a single approach and struggle against top-tier opponents.
As Canelo Alvarez has been a great fighter his whole career, people like Erislandy Lara gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. People like Floyd Mayweather also gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. But Bud is more fierce, more fearsome and more angrier and more meaner than both of those guys. So you know if they showed you the blueprint, Bud gonna go out there, take that blueprint and do even more with it, which is what Bud did. So it was never a question in my mind whether Bud really was going to outbox me, just if he could take the punch. And right away he showed, bam, he could take the punch. So I knew from that point, if he just slow him down, which he did, he'd be okay. Then late in the fight, what other people still didn't see, late in the fight, Bud started hitting Canelo's body. One of those body shots, I think about the 7th or 8th round, hurt Canelo. I was like, whoa. Bud hit him in the right spot then, and he got Canelo's respect with that too. So Bud fought a very, very awesome fight, fought a beautiful fight, very tactical.
Very controlled.
Yes, it was a beautiful fight for boxing.
It was a beautiful fight. You know, Bud got hit with some shots.
He did. He got
hit with some single shots going out. You know, he's going out and you know Canelo, if he has you trapped in the corner or along the ropes, it's typically 1 to 2 big shots. You know that if you've watched him.
Yep.
So you could tell Crawford as he was going out, he knew the one shot was coming, and several times it landed. He even got hit with a two-piece. I don't remember what round it was, uppercut right hand that Crawford took well. So when you started seeing him absorb the shots, if you're Team Crawford, you don't want him to take that shot. But if you started seeing that, now you know that, okay. And I think that's what gave Crawford the green light to stay there a little bit longer.
He smiled about it.
He smiled about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that smile can be a lie. And sometimes that smile can mean what I think it meant for Crawford, which is, oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
The possibility of Terence Crawford facing Floyd Mayweather, even in an exhibition, has stirred intense debate. Critics worry that such a matchup could overshadow Crawford's legacy. They argue that instead of continuing to build on landmark victories, like his dominant performances against Errol Spence and Canelo Alvarez, he might appear more focused on financial gain than competitive achievement. This concern comes from Mayweather's recent focus on high-profile exhibition bouts rather than career-defining fights. Analysts note that Crawford has worked too hard to risk being perceived as chasing money over history. On the other hand, supporters argue that Crawford's legacy is already firmly established, and a bout with Mayweather would simply add another compelling chapter to his career.
For Terence Crawford, it's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his legacy. This is what was being said, right? This is what people perceived. Terence Crawford was just attempting to cash out.
Fans compare Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford. The discussion gets complicated. Floyd's record features victories over some of boxing's biggest names, but critics often highlight the context of those wins. Canelo was still developing as a fighter when he faced Mayweather, and Pacquiao was reportedly dealing with injuries during their highly anticipated 2015 matchup. Additionally, Floyd's reluctance to allow rematches, especially with Pacquiao, left lingering questions for many observers. In contrast, Crawford's dominance has come against opponents widely regarded as being at their peak. These differences spark ongoing debates about whether Mayweather's near-perfect record reflects unmatched skill or carefully managed timing and matchmaking.
Floyd Mayweather is still greater than Terence Crawford. We need to really talk about this now. A lot of you guys are putting Crawford a bit too high. If you want to say Crawford could beat Floyd, I'm more open to that conversation, but when you're lining up the careers, I'm going to say Floyd every time. While they're both 5 division, Bud has become 3-time undisputed, but he's only fought 10 world champions to Floyd's 25 world champions. You can't take away the 5 division, 3-time undisputed. In terms of accolades, yeah, he probably gets the nod over Floyd. I say their accolades are about relative, considering Floyd Mayweather won Fighter of the Decade as well. But when you get to the resumes, Pacquiao, Oscar, Canelo, Cotto, Mosley, Castillo, Marquez, Zab, Gotti, Hatton, and Corley. There's probably way more people that this guy just didn't name. And then when you get to Bud's resume, not saying it's just bad, but the only names that's really worth mentioning is going to be Spence and Canelo. It's not a knock on Bud. Bud was not able to make those fights early on in his career. But I got to tell you guys what it is. Bud's resume just doesn't line up with Floyd's. Take their top 20 wins. Bud don't even got 20 wins to really sit here and name. Floyd got a good 20-something plus. Bud probably got about 10 wins that we could really sit here and name. Floyd's still greater than Bud in my opinion.
Tony Jeff, a well-known boxing analyst, has pointed out that Floyd Mayweather's greatest strength wasn't just his speed or defense, it was his mindset. According to Jeff, Mayweather's unwavering confidence in his ability to beat anyone made him truly exceptional. Even in closely contested fights, his supreme boxing IQ and self-belief gave him a decisive advantage. His skill in reading opponents, adapting on the fly, and remaining calm under pressure set him apart from fighters who relied mainly on physical ability. Jeff emphasizes that this mental edge, combined with technical mastery, is what made Floyd nearly unbeatable and allowed him to retire with an unblemished record.
Strong mindset, they're really confident, they really believe in themselves, but you need more than that mindset. You need to have the full package of everything that I'm talking about, what Floyd has got.
Fighters should only want to get better. The more you win, the more you should work hard. If you think about losing, you're going to lose. All I ever thought about was winning. So that's all I know.
Floyd would visualize his success before he even stepped into the ring. There was no alternative to him but winning. And this mindset isn't just for boxing, it's for all walks of life. And I've actually done a full video talking about how I used this mindset of visualization to win my Olympic medal. And it was an absolute game changer. Now, Floyd used to use this mindset to ease the pressure that he put himself under, and he made himself think like, I'm not under any pressure right now, where he was under immense pressure.
Pressure either makes you or break you. Well, you see where I'm at, so it's obvious that I'm the type of athlete, or I'm the type of entertainer that can deal with pressure. There's never no pressure.
Now, if you watch his fight in 2013, when he fought Canelo Alvarez, Canelo came in a young, strong, undefeated fighter, but by round 2, Floyd kind of had him figured out. He was reading Canelo's jab. He would slip outside and then come back with a clean counter punch, then move his feet and get out of the way. He basically had the full fight under control, and he was controlling the full rhythm of the fight. He was forcing Canelo to fight at his pace. And this is what he would do in all of his fights. He would get his opponent to do what he wanted them to do without their opponent even realizing it, which is what we call boxing IQ. Now, even though I'm not a fan of Floyd Mayweather personally, because of the time when I did meet him, what he said to me made me just feel like this guy is a piece of...
The boxing world is always eager for compelling matchups, and one of the most talked about possibilities recently is Terence Crawford taking on David Benavidez. Benavidez brings size, power, and relentless pressure, qualities that would pose a serious challenge. Fans view this potential fight as the kind of high-stakes test that could push Crawford to new heights. Although nothing has been officially announced, the speculation highlights a desire among fans for legacy-defining contests rather than exhibition bouts driven primarily by money. A Crawford versus Benavidez matchup would be a clash of skill versus size, precision versus aggression. Truly a dream scenario for boxing enthusiasts.
Not me, but shocked the world. This past Saturday, Mexican Independence Day weekend, what he took on defeated another first ballot Hall of Famer, but he essentially jumped up 3 weight classes, technically 2, from 154 to 168, but only had 1 fight at 154 last August against Israel Majamov. Terence Crawford defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is a 4-division champion, 2-time undisputed super middleweight, and the reigning, at the time, super middleweight world champion, undisputed world champion. And Terence Crawford beat him handily and convincingly. And because he beat him so easily, now the 63 win, 3 loss, 2 draw, 39 win by way of knockout, biggest threat has been now imposed on Terence Bud Crawford. And that's the Mexican Ecuadorian monster, David Benavidez, who is a 2-division undefeated world champion, is the 2-time WBC super middleweight and reigning WBC light heavyweight, 175-pound champion, who has a record of 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout. He stands 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. This is a fight that David Benavidez has been calling for Canelo Alvarez when he was at 168, and Canelo Alvarez strategically maneuvered around him. But Canelo Alvarez is 5'7" with a 70-inch arm reach, started his career at 147 pounds, made his real name at 154 pounds. He's not a big guy, okay? And styles make fights. Benavidez is 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. His last fight at 168 against Demetrius Andrade, he rehydrated to 193. So he's a big guy. Canelo Alvarez probably rehydrate to 182, maybe 185 max, right? He's not a big guy, right?
Debate over who's greater, Floyd Mayweather or Terence Crawford, is far from settled. Both have faced top-tier opponents in their respective eras and emerged with commanding victories. Floyd's flawless record and defensive brilliance distinguished him in his generation, while Crawford's ability to move up in weight and maintain dominance is equally remarkable. The challenge in comparing them lies in the differences in their eras and circumstances, making a direct comparison difficult. Ultimately, it may be impossible to crown one as definitively greater, but together, they exemplify the highest levels of boxing excellence.
Oh my goodness, I said that was going to happen. If Crawford was to win, we're going to be seeing a lot of these debates on whether or not Floyd Mayweather or Terence Crawford is going to be better. Now this is going to be a debate for a long time. I'm talking about one of those debates like LeBron versus MJ, Messi versus Ronaldo. It's one of those. And the thing is, I can get behind it. Let me go ahead and say this. When it comes to resume, I do think we give Floyd Mayweather the edge. I mean, he beat a bunch of champions. He reigned for a long time. While Crawford, his resume is heavily criticized, and he's just not getting, his kind of respect for beating Errol Spence and Canelo Alvarez. But if we're talking strictly off of skills, this is where things get really, really tough to talk about. I think a fair assessment of this matchup would be Floyd Mayweather wins from 135 and 140, while Crawford wins from 147 to 154. And I say that because I feel like Floyd's style changed once he got to welterweight. He became a more defensive fighter, and he just wasn't as much focused on offense. And knowing this, I feel like Crawford would have had a much better chance of handling him. And we all know, Crawford was an absolute monster at welterweight. But hey man, like I said, this is going to be a debate for a very long time. And I can't wait to hear all the talk about it. But I'm curious on your thoughts. Who do you think wins in the fight? Floyd or Terence Crawford? Let's talk about it, and follow me for more boxing talk.
Greg Hackett's take on Crawford's victory over Canelo captures the full significance of the fight. By calling Canelo the best in boxing, Hackett highlights just how dominant and respected he had been for over a decade. Crawford's performance, not only facing him but taking control and dismantling him, signaled a dramatic shift in power. In Hackett's eyes, Crawford has emerged as the new apex fighter, the one other boxers now fear. This win didn't just add another title to his record, it reshaped the boxing landscape, establishing Crawford as the hunter at the top of the sport.
Because you gotta remember, Canelo is the guy right now in the sport that's supposed to be the man, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, who else I'm gonna fight? You beat the shark, you beat the wolf. Right. Damn. Like, you know what I mean? Ain't no more ops out there. It's ops out there, but who gonna make them really want to get up? That's the
shit
question.
gotta make sense.
That's
like you said, you be the shark, you be the wolf.
Yeah.
But there's the monster.
Yeah, it is, but that's like a real monster.
Bro, that's to me it don't make sense. But that's
really
what
a monster.
Yo, is that proof? All right, we got the legendary Pape in the building. Legend.
Chillin'.
But what makes sense? Like, what makes the most sense? I know you said get a line of suits, Brooks Brothers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Your line of suits, get your money, man. Yeah, go ahead and get the easy money, bro. You ain't gotta sweat no more.
What's up,
Not saying you ain't gotta work, you ain't gotta sweat.
What's happening?
He's paved a career where he could sit down at a table and get this money. He could come out with a Terence Crawford series now, just doing whatever he like to do. People gonna watch it. Nobody, the fighting part, people don't understand what it's like to be a fighter. A lot of times fighters really don't be interested in certain fights. It's cause when a guy see himself up here and then is fighting a guy down here, it don't interest him. So therefore when he train, he not gonna really train. He gonna train, but he not gonna train. He not gonna listen. He gonna feel like his coach taking it too serious, and he's like, man, this ain't even that.
Crawford's win over Canelo Alvarez was a defining moment that erased any remaining doubts about his place in boxing. His earlier victory against Errol Spence had already silenced many critics, demonstrating his ability to control a fight from start to finish. But taking apart Canelo, a fighter widely regarded as nearly unbeatable, cemented Crawford's status in the sport's history. Analysts now broadly agree that these victories confirm Crawford as one of the all-time greats. His capacity to dominate champions across multiple divisions leaves little room for debate about his supremacy.